Hello, Kris here, Green Sabre, Doom Telly time, episode I cannot remember. Let me just go through my notes. What was the last one that I did? I think it's 92, something like that. Anyway, we're in the 90s. And firstly, apologies for the fucking enormous gap between these videos. As I've said several times, I get a small window of opportunity once a week for these. Work's been fairly manic, the bands have been fairly manic, and a few other bits and pieces. So yeah, the window has been fucking missed fairly regularly. And of course, for those of you with sproglets, it's been half term as well over the last week and a bit. So a small chap has been getting in the way of any potential video making time that I've had. But anyway, enough of the excuses. And in reality, I don't really fucking care. I don't miss. It's nice to not sort of have to constantly think about doing these, quite honestly, because I've run out of ideas, essentially, as you will gather with the forthcoming video. But anyway, it's nice to get back at it all the same. So band updates, right? So let's crack on with them. Firstly, CROWSBLOOD. We are very, very close to going into the studio. We're up in, we're recording up in Scotland. Can't remember the name of the studio, but shout out Kev, who will be recording for us up there. It's getting ominously close now. We've probably only got a couple more rehearsals before we're up there and at it. Very, very excited. So that will be for the CROWSBLOOD debut album. Honestly, the tracks are sounding amazing so far, so I can't wait to get them down properly. Yeah, very much looking forward to you hearing that. So, yeah, we're very much locked into getting our heads in recording space because time is money. Let's make sure that we're not fucking ad-libbing when we get up there. So, yeah, CROWSBLOOD at it. Green Sabre, rehearsing away in the background. We are also going to be recording just one track at the minute that we're going to release as a single. That any of you that have come and seen us, the track Mountain has been a staple part of our set for the last couple of years now. We're finally going to commit it to, I don't know what the digital equivalent of tape is. But yeah, we're finally going to get that recorded. So we'll include our newest member as well, Hamish. Shout out Hamish, top banana. So yeah, very much looking forward to getting that down for you guys. We will eventually plan on doing some more stuff at the minute, but due to the newer, more fleshed out, miles better lineup that we have in Green Sabre now, it's something that some of the newer tracks that we've had on the back burner for a fucking while now, trying to get into the studio. I've just taken on a bit of a new life. I've been thinking about, I mean, there's so much more that Hamish can offer these tracks now. So, no pressure, Hamish. But yeah, it's made me think a little bit about, right, I can do so much more with that section of that. And I can do something entirely different with the ending of that now. And it's great. These are great problems to have. So very much, yeah, that is where we're at with the recording process for Green Sabre. But going into record Mountain very, very soon. In fact, potentially as it stands before I get up to Scotland for the CROWSBLOOD stuff. But anyway. Speaking of Green Sabre, we only have one other gig in the pipeline currently. We're looking at stuff for later in the year, but as it stands, and hopefully try to get some down south London way. But logistically, it's a bit of a minefield. Logistically, is that one because it's a lot of effort to get down there for what is often very little or no money. So you're basically doing a London gig. Fuck crack more so than you are. So you're very, very, I mean, Christ, we wouldn't even let ends meet, quite honestly, doing that. But I desperately want to play London because I haven't yet. So that's on to-do list. Other gigs though, we have a gig at Studio 5 Live in Keighley on the 28th of June, I want to say. It's the Saturday anyway, I think it's the 28th of June. We're on with Carmian, are opening. Then the guys who are organising it are now, however you want to say it, out of Huddersfield. They're on next. Then it's us penultimate bands, Green Sabre that is. I know I need to qualify this with all the myriad of bands I've got going on. And the fantastic out of Bradford Son of Boar are headlining that. It's going to be a great, great night. And also, it's for charity. So, and I've written it down this time because I keep forgetting about this. But Burnout, who are the sort of promotion wing of Now, and TNC, True Northern Collective, I want to say that stands for. But yeah, this is basically, they're organising this for a charity do for men's mental health. So a great charity, or a great reason for the charity gig, I should say. So get yourself there. If I remember, I'll try and put a link to it down below, in and around the comments or the info section. But yeah, that's what we've got upcoming next. Other band, GODTHRYMM. We are, plugging away in the background, getting these songs fleshed out for going into the recording, which will be a couple of months off at least yet before we start fire. But I think we might have the drums booked at Nave in Leeds, but I could be wrong. But anyway, yeah, that's coming along nicely in the background. As far as gigs go for us, we have... Right, I should have written these down. I can't remember the order of these. Right, I think the first one that we've got coming up is Deprivation Festival down in Swindon. Mammoth lineup, check that out. It's fucking amazing. We're on the Friday night, and we're headlining the second stage. The main stage headliners are Nervosa, Brazilian thrash, all-female band. Anyway, they're fucking ace. I'm looking forward to seeing them. So I'm hoping there's no clash. But yeah, they're headlining the main stage on the Friday night. GODTHRYMM are headlining the second stage on that Friday night. Then on the Saturday night, you've got Memoriam, Necronautical are on. There's a few other bands whose name escapes me. Anyway, Saturday, look, Hecate, Dethroned, or Hecate, however you pronounce it, Dethroned, they're on. Yeah, there's a few bands on Saturday. The Sunday as well, Cancer are playing, amongst others. Honestly, it's a fucking ripping lineup. So if that's down Swindon way, Wiltshire or wherever it is, down that neck of the woods. So if you're round that neck of the woods, or if you fancy getting down there, Friday, the 5th of September, we're on at that. But it's that weekend of 5th, 6th, 7th of September. So get yourself to that. It'd be fucking ace to see a few of you there. So that's the first one I can think of. The next one, we're headlining a gig with Legea, Wept. Again, Halifax based now, but I think they come from all over the place. They've got a fucking Peruvian kazoo player. I want to say that might have been made up, but this is the levels. I think drummer's Mexican. Fucking anyway, they're coming from all over Gaff. So yeah, they've organised this gig, but GODTHRYMM are headlining it. That's at the Fulford Arms in York, and that is Saturday the 26th of September. It's definitely the Saturday anyway, but I can't remember if it's the 25th or 26th. And yeah, so that's all good. So we're on at that. And then, what's the other one that we've got arranged? So there's some goth type do at the Grace and Unity in Halifax. It's like a week long. In fact, it's not the goth do, sorry, I'm fucking confusing that with something else that goes on. It's like the Halifax Music Festival or whatever it is. It goes on for a week. There's all sorts of shite going on. Pulled Apart by Horses are on, amongst various others. There's all sorts of stuff going on at various venues over that week, but we're on the last night of it, which I think is the Saturday again. 10th of October, I want to say. I could be wrong. But yeah, headlining that. So lots going on as such. Right, we're nearly at fucking 10 minutes, but those are the band roundups. So today's video, because I've not actually fucking told you what this rambling pile of shit is about yet. Today's video is I had a request to carry on my decade of metal. I thought, oh, fuck it, yeah, I quite enjoy putting them together. So yeah, I'm going to. So I've persevered now, again, very much like I did with the last video in this series, which was 96 and 97 that I rolled into one, because it was slim pickings back then for metal, quite honestly, for decent metal anyway. Well, I've had to do the same again, so I'm picking up where I left off, and today's video will be 98 and 99. And I've just realised I've forgotten one key fucking entry that I need to add to my notes, because it nearly got in my top 6, but it didn't anyway. So 98 and 1999 will be today's years condensed into a top 6, also rans and glaring emissions. Once again, doffed of the cap to Metal Mickey, whose idea of it is what I ripped basically for this series of videos. And I'm surprised that there aren't many more of you doing this. I think it's a great little idea that amongst many great ideas that Metal Mickey comes up with, quite honestly. I'm forever pilfering his video ideas for content. So thank you, Metal Mickey. The secret behind the success there. Right, anyway. So, 98 and 99. again, it was a largely fucking terrible couple of years for metal, in reality. When you look back on it, the aging process, classic metal, like your early, mid-80s, your Metallicas, your Maidens, your blah, blah, and all that kind of stuff, back then, when they were in the pomp, that's aged like a fine wine, and it's still relevant to this day. The outbreak of the death metal scene in the late 80s and the early 90s, the thrash metal scene in the late 80s, the doom metal scene in the early 90s, the black metal scene that, yes, started initially, the first wave of it in the mid to late 80s, and then the early 90s Norwegian second wave resurgence and so on and so forth. There's some great stuff that has aged fantastically and still stands up to this day. The mid to late 90s of metal was when new metal had got its claws into stuff, and I've said this on several other videos, but I think it's aged fucking awfully. No, just awfully. And even stuff that I loved back then, I go back to now and think, do you know what? It's a bit fucking ropey. It's a lot of that. But I'll go into detail with that soon. And I will try and keep this concise because there's not a tremendous amount of physical media here either. There's a few that I'm going to mention that I have got the CD somewhere, but I've not felt the urge to fucking unpack it and put it on my limited CD shelf space over in the corner of the living room there. So, and a couple that I'll mention that are EPs, so technically shouldn't count, but the dearth of decent material back then means that they kind of had to. So let's crack on without further ado. So 98 and 1999. Shite years for metal. I mean, I think back then I was still in my sort of psychedelic, getting stoned out of my mind fucking phase. So I was listening to a lot of, the 70s Pink Floyd stuff, Hendrix, The Doors, fucking Sabbath, Zeppelin, Purple, all the sort of stuff. Still diving back into metal, still listening to a bit of doom metal here and there, the classics, Cathedral, fucking Anathema, Bride, that kind of stuff. But largely, I'd veered away from the new metal scene. But there were a few that pulled me back in around about this period, so which I will explain shortly. So, right, let's crack on. So, my number 6 for 98 and 99, and it will be image inserted because I don't think I've got any physical of this anywhere. Meshuggah with the Chaos Sphere. Meshuggah are what are termed as a djent band, are they, as such like that? I pretty much universally fucking despise that whole genre of metal, djent. It's lazy, it's formulaic, they all fucking sound the same. Lots of overt posturing, and some of that almost choreographed headbanging fucking knee squat thing that goes on drives me insane. Most of it's dog shit. Meshuggah are the standout shining beacon of, and only fucking standout shining beacon of that genre for me. There's just something different about them, unique, and also I say unique because most of the other djent bands try and just fucking sound like them. But Meshuggah are the best at it, and Chaos Sphere is a good case in point. Now I'm not going to go into tremendous detail on this because I can't, having not really listened to a lot of Meshuggah in the last couple of years, and also not really delved into this album in a while. I'm sketchy with my frame of reference on it. But yeah, there's a couple of fucking almighty killer tracks on there. And I thought this was worth a mention, mainly, and I'm going to dive into the detail of it, because a lot of the metal that is very much time-stamped of this era has not fucking aged well at all. This has, and I think most of Meshuggah stuff's aged really well, particularly their early stuff, actually. There's very much a kind of stuck in their ways feel about some of the more modern stuff that I do still enjoy, like Kolos and the other ones. But yeah, I think they're largely still a decent band. I've seen them live, they were fucking magnificent. Zealand supported them, who were not fucking magnificent, but that's just my opinion, kids. I think they are overrated shat. But anyway, so yeah, my number 6, Meshuggah, Chaos Sphere, image inserted. Okay, my number 5, another image inserted, because I don't actually have this. I've hunted for the CD. I feel like I've probably never owned it. I certainly don't have the vinyl of it anyway. I've got most of the stuff leading up to and around that point. But, insert image, my number 5, Morbid Angel with Formulas, Fatal to the Flesh. Now, again, because I don't have it to hand, I'm right in thinking this is the first album that they did post Dave Vincent, aren't I? Dave Vincent had left off the album before this, which was Domination. And this was the one that followed it with Your Other Man on it. Sorry, you can tell how ill prepared I am for this video. I've done very little note taking beforehand. But yeah, still, even though it's missing one of those crucial ingredients that makes Morbid Angel what they are, I mean, Trey, the guitarist, and Pete on drums are the two vital components for me for Morbid Angel. But Dave Vincent was also pretty vital to that with his vocal delivery, which is missing. Is Eric Rutan or whatever it is. No, he was a guitarist. Anyway, whoever's fucking singing on this. But it's still decent. It's still a great Morbid Angel record. And I feel like this Domination, this one, the one that follows this, is it Gateways to Annihilation? The slower, more grinding Morbid Angel vibe. Fucking great. They're still really, really good. Morbid Angel was still firing at this point and really, really just doing what they did best. Mental, disturbing sounding riffs with fucking insanely fast double kick drum going all over the top of it. And yeah, just brilliant. And I think a worthy number 5. Again, I don't have the physical media, so you'll have to make do with fucking image inserted. But yeah, I think a worthy number 5. And that was, sorry, both these 6 and number 5 have been 1998 entries to my top 6. There is only one further 98 entry to go in. The other 3 are 99. Oh, in fact, I've done a 3-3 split there. Anyway, stop waffling, Kris. So that's my number 5, Morbid Angel, Formulas Fatal to the Flesh. My number 4, and a band that, I don't know, have they been universally cancelled just because of the acts of one fucking person? We're not allowed to talk about them anymore. It's a crying shame that because Scott Kelly turned out to be a fucking arsehole, that not only have we lost that band for good now, realistically, but the legacy's been somewhat besmirched by his antics. I'm talking about Neurosis, of course, and possibly my favourite album of theirs, Image Inserted, Times of Grace. I think this is a fucking fabulous record. I don't have the physical media of it at all anywhere. I'd like it on vinyl. I feel like it's quite hard to come by. Never had the CD. Neurosis were a late burn to me. In fact, I got into Mastodon, and it was Mastodon that put Neurosis on my radar. So yeah, I was late getting to Neurosis. But yeah, fabulous band, regardless of what I've just fucking said collectively. I mean, am I right in thinking they started as like a sort of hardcore punk band in their very, very early days, and then morphed into this kind of weird, it's not really doom, it's not really sludge, it's kind of post-sloom or dludge or whatever you want to fucking call it. But they're brilliant at it. There's a real, I mean, the more modern they got, the more obviously sort of post-metal vibe of it. But like I say, regardless of him being a dickhead, Scott Kelly's vocals are fucking top tier. And whenever he's guesting on Mastodon albums, they sound amazing. I love Neurosis, and I particularly love this album, and it was a worthy number 4 for me. Might have possibly been higher, apart from the top 3 are actually really, really good fucking albums that came out during this period. So yeah, my number 4, Neurosis, Times of Grace. My number 3 from 1998, Death's final record, The Sound of Perseverance. As we finally got a bit of physical media, I should actually know it's the bone white vinyl, but it's one of them Relapse covers, and that's an absolute fucking prick to get out of. So I can't be arsed. But you'll have all seen it. Bone white vinyl. Sound reissue, crucially. The Sound of Perseverance. Yeah, Death's last record. I've done a Death ranking, and this was bottom of my Death ranking for me. Death have done no bad records. I must fucking accentuate that statement. But this is the weakest of their back catalogue for me, for a number of reasons as well. Again, I've mentioned this on previous videos, but Chuck didn't want to do any more Death records. But when he signed for Relapse, or whoever it was, I think it was Relapse that he was signed on at the time, Relapse signed him wanting another Death record. He was trying to sort of peddle the Control Denied thing at the time there, which was very, very good, and we'll get an honourable mention in my also rants. But Chuck had kind of fallen out of love with Death at that point. I mean, through his own doings, quite honestly. That many lineup changes can't you can't really keep just using the excuse, I needed different musicians for different eras of Death. He sounded rip Chuck, but he sounded like an absolute cockend to work with at times. So, yeah, very much focused and driven on his own artistic output. So I can't really say that I have any problems with that, but it was clearly very, very difficult to work with. Watch that Death, what is it? Death by Metal or whatever it is. The documentary about Death. It's great. Some great interviews with like Rick Ross, Chris Reifert, Steve DiGiorgio, various other people that played with him over the years. Some really good warts and all comments about it. It's not sort of like crawling up Chuck's ass. It's telling it how it is. How Sean Reinert, the Cynic drummer that was the drummer on the Human album, how he just got ditched without really ever being told, replaced by Gene Hoglan, who'd had run-ins with Chuck before with Dark Angel. But anyway, I'm fucking waffling. Watch the documentary, it's this. But this is a worthy number 3, because although, like I say, it felt like a slightly half-arsed Death album, it's Death, and their half-arsed is better than most fucking bands. And there are some fucking stellar tunes on here, if you ignore the cover of Painkiller at the end of it, which is somewhat fist in mouth, cringingly bad. But all the same, a worthy number 3, 1998 Sound of Perseverance from Death. My number 2, and I've dug out the, I don't know if you can see it there, in the Type O Negative box set, which cost me a fucking arm and a leg, but it was worth it. Hang on, dig out the right one. It's 1999's, of course, World Coming Down. And here it is. In this box set, you will notice it doesn't have the Type O Negative World Coming Down little corner pieces. None of them do. They're all just clean artwork. It's quite a nice little feature, is that. Green, the kind of swirly green and black vinyl, you know, that Type O Negative seem to do for almost every fucking reissue they do of everything. But anyway, yeah, it's the green vinyl version of it, but a monstrous album. The album that followed October Rust, and when it came out originally in 1999, I was not quite sold on it, I will be honest. It felt, I know this sounds like a daft statement, but it felt really fucking miserable. And because it is, it's Type O's most miserable record. You know, because clearly Pete's going through a lot of fucking addiction issues and all sorts of shit at the time. And you really feel that in the record. But there's some absolute fucking stellar tunes on there. Like Everything Dies is on there. It is, isn't it? Yeah. A Pirate Ablaze. White Slavery. There's some fucking gems on that record. But yeah, it's a really maudlin, slow, depressing record. And when you follow what was, yeah, maudlin, slow and depressing, but October Rust has got some really almost upbeat, euphoric in a melancholic sense. That makes no sense, sorry guys. But there's some slightly more inspiring, I can't find the fucking word I'm trying to do, but October Rust, the album that came before it, is their finest hour for me as a band. And so whatever followed that was going to be a difficult one to achieve the same level. And whether it did or not is a moot point, quite honestly. Over the years, I've come to fucking love that record. And like I say, there's so many great, great songs on it. It's a class record and a worthy number 2, 1999's World Coming Down from Type O Negative. My number 1 is also from 1999. This is, of course, the majestic My Dying Bride with The Light at the End of the World. I love this album for many, many reasons. Not only because it's fucking ace, not only because it's Bride, but also because it came from, and the more, 1998's 34.788% burnt. Was an interesting record. Yeah, there are some just strange artistic choices on there that I can't really look past, but there's also actually some really good fucking tunes on that album. And again, might be Bride's worst effort, but it's still fucking better than a lot of stuff that was going on at the time. In fact, was that 98? I probably should have mentioned it in here. I've got the CD as well, but I've not dug it out. Anyway, it was the album before fucking this, so stop waffling, Kris. Again, She Is the Dark, Eden Beast, The Light at the End of the World. the ISIS script, same E3, they're all fucking decent anyway, but those are just some that I thought I'd point out. But I adore this record, and it felt like a real back on track moment from what I'd been to. I have a real soft spot for like Gods of the Sun, the album that followed The Angel in the Dark River. I like that, but there's quite a bit of filler on it in reality. I'd be remiss of me not to sort of admit that, quite frankly. But the great tracks on there that I love make me want to go about. The production's a bit weird on Gods of the Sun as well. Then you have 34.788% complete that followed it, which was them. It almost felt like Bride trying to reinvent themselves sonically, and I don't know if it was a particularly successful experiment, clearly, because they went back to this, which was just like Bride going back to them firing on all cylinders. An absolute worthy for 98 and 1999 that, as I've discussed and will continue to discuss, was fucking ropey at best for metal. A worthy number one there. Top tier stuff from My Dying Bride. So yeah, that's my top 6. Now, also Rans, there's a lot here, so I'm not going to bother inserting images for them all, but I'll just rattle through them. Anathema, was it the Judgment album? 98 or 99. Decent. Opeth, can't remember. I'm only just and so getting my head round Opeth, I'll be honest with you. But yeah, I feel like I missed out on a few albums. But yeah, still trying to see what all the fuss is about anyway. But yeah, liking it. Cradle of Filth, was it Cruelty and the Beast? They were going off it for me at that point, but worthy mention. Metallica, the Garage Inc. album. Yeah, there's some fucking terrible covers on there, but there's some decent ones as well, and it's a really good collective of all their fucking garage cover type sort of series, and a decent little compilation of stuff on there. If you look past their fucking terrible version of Whiskey in the Jar and a few other bits and pieces. Monster Magnet, great album from those guys. In Flames, was it Colony? When In Flames were good, but a worthy mention. Static X. Now, we're in the realms of this sort of discussing, and I'll only discuss it briefly, but Static X, System of a Down, Slipknot, the rise of that more modern new metal thing. I mean, I don't know if I count System of a Down as new metal. I don't know if I count fucking Slipknot as new metal either, really. Slipknot, on that debut, although parts of it, like the white rapping moments and all that fucking awful garbage, haven't aged brilliantly. But the first 2.5 records, bits of 3, and the first 2, are decent records, and I can listen to, for the most part, quite happily. Yeah, they're decent. They kind of gone off the boil after that when they got mega fucking famous. The early Static X is decent, very much stuck in that mould of a chunky fucking new metal riffage, but I loved his voice, so I quite have a soft spot for the early Static X stuff. And System of a Down, again, I don't know if a lot of that stuff, the more bizarre yodeling and all that kind of stuff, has aged particularly well now. It all just sounds a bit wacky. But Toxicity is a fucking tremendous record. And whichever one come out in 99, did anything come out in 99? Probably not, actually. No, in fact, I'm thinking in 98, it was the debut, wasn't it? Yeah, that's why I've made a note of them. Yeah, it was the debut, the one with the hand on the front. Decent-ish, but Toxicity and the album that followed that, Mesmerize, the first of the two, kind of one, anyway. But, yeah, this is where, for me, new metal has aged so badly. I mean, go back and listen to a lot of them, and I don't think you'll find them anywhere near as engaging, certainly as I did back then. And yeah, I just find that they're the opposite of timeless. They're very much stuck in that fucking era of huge baggy pants and just trying a bit hard. I know that they were trying to reinvent metal, but I just don't think it particularly needed it. But anyway, I've gone off on one again. Emperor had something out around then. Korn, as I've just mentioned, their last, was it Issues, before they truly lost their fucking minds. Dark Throne, Godflesh, King Diamond, I want to say the Voodoo album. Yeah, Immolation, Dillinger Escape Plan with Calculating Infinity. Is that an EP technically though? But it's a very short album if not. But yeah, Dillinger. Rob Zombie, Hellbilly Deluxe, his first of his debut stuff. And I still think that stands up for the most part, personally, with Dragula on it and is it Super Beast? Yeah, and Living Dead Girl and that kind of thing. I think that last, well, the White Zombie stuff and that first Rob Zombie solo album are really good still. I think they've stood up pretty well. They're really, really good. Most of his modern stuff hasn't. I'm not a fan of his filmmaking either. Gasp. But anyway, just throw that out there. But yeah, Rob Zombie worth a mention. So loads and loads of fucking stuff. Half an hour, right? Let's wrap this up because I've not got to glaring omissions. And I'll mention, we're talking about new metal and how it's not aged well. Limp Bizkit and whatever the fucking, was it Significant Other? Anyway, I remember quite liking that at the time in '99, thinking, oh, this is a bit different. It got, because there were occasional bits of like gangster rap that I quite liked and still quite do, like early Wu-Tang and Old Dirty Bastard and the very early sort of Snoop and Death Row type stuff. I think has a not a relevance as such, but I think that's still decent and was very much a pioneering style in that hip hop thing. But let's not go there. But new metal and the incorporation of China, and when you incorporate it particularly badly, like Limp Bizkit did, then it's just a recipe for disaster. Like I say, something about it I quite liked back then, but I remember by a year or two later, even that close, I had moved on already thinking, fuck me, what did I like about that stuff? All that fucking stupid oh, fucking shit that Fred Durst did on every bastard song. Talentless fucking goon who was only really saved his music career by the qualities of that guitarist in that band, Wes Borland. What he was doing, wasting his time in that sack of shit, and still is beyond me. He's a truly decent guitar player, innovative. In his outfits as well, he sort of looks like the only one that can be fucking arsed. But yeah, Limp Bizkit, glaring omission, because that shit has aged terribly. Fucking garbage. Another one that I feel I have to mention is Iron Maiden's Virtual 11. I often feel sorry for Blaze Bayley when I look back on it, because I think he was on a hiding to nothing. I think he was a great vocalist. I wasn't a fan of Wolfsbane, the band that he had going before he joined Maiden. But they clearly made a mark on the metal scene back then at the time. They were kind of like the next big thing. It was all very much that sort of hard rocky... what's the other song called? I Like It Hot or something. But anyway... yeah, it was just, yeah, it hadn't fucking... It didn't... It didn't want my bag, but anyway, when they made the choice to put him in Maiden, I thought, right, this might be interesting. Maiden had gone off the boil for me at that point anyway, with Fear of the Dark and No Prayer for the Dying. I'd kind of lost interest after Seventh Son, personally. But I thought, right, interesting choice. Let's wait to hear. And then, fuck me, when the album dropped, it was just awful. Not only, I think, did they not really give Blaze the tools to be a success in Maiden, because Maiden couldn't change a tactic on any of it, but also the production is horrendous on both those Blaze Bayley albums, but particularly on this one. Absolutely shocking. But before I fucking waffle on for like 40 plus minutes, let's draw that to an end. So that's my 98 and 1999. 2000, will it get its own video? Can I be arsed? Who knows? But anyway, one final mention for 1998. Is it 98 this, or what to say? I feel like it is. It's only a single, a 12-inch. I mean, it's fucking long enough to be an album, quite frankly, but the Super Coven single. An absolutely fucking worthy mention for 98/1999, because this is arguably some of the finest stuff that Electric Wizard have ever committed to fucking tape, but also just class. But I couldn't technically include it on this because it's not an album, not even an EP, technically speaking. Right, enough. Thank you for persisting and waiting with bated breath for this video. I'll either try and think of something slightly more interesting for next week's video or not. I might just carry on regardless, boring you all to death. Maybe my fucking mission or my next trick can be to lose subscribers at an alarming rate. But anyway, I hope you did enjoy this video. I've had a smattering of subscribers. I think that was largely thanks to The Beast, shout out Sean, putting a video name dropping me with regards to an album that I've recommended. But there's a few of the others. Death Metal Dylan, shout out, mate. It has also been glowing in mentioning that I don't have enough subscribers. They're both right. I don't have enough subscribers. And in order to gain sweet, sweet validation before I inevitably leave this mortal coil, please get all of your friends and family, enemies, whoever, get them subscribing to me. If not, I don't know how I'll carry on, quite frankly. Right, enough. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Toodle pip.